Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and obviously, or maybe not so obviously, depending on how well you've been following us, we're home. Now we got home last night, and things are about the way we expected them to be honest. The person who was making sure that the yard was watered and that the system kept going had warned us that we had a lot of rodent damage in the garden outside, but that the greenhouse was doing pretty well. Now, let me take you around briefly in the yard. Over the next week or so, we'll be getting everything pulled together, but there's priorities. And I know there's some people out there who would just look at this mess that stretches out before me here and go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Well, let me explain how we prioritize things, and it'll all make sense. Now, the basic issue is is what happens when you get a lot of rain and nobody's weeding. And the plants here are extremely ferocious when it comes to growing quickly because they know they have a limited amount of time to do anything with. So when we come into a situation like this, the first thing we do is clear a safe path. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, a couple of things. First of all, I want to be able to see the ground. I want to know what's down there. I want to make sure there's no snakes down there. I want to make sure I'm not going to trip over something. And obviously there's plenty of things that you could trip over. The second thing is I'm going to pull these guys. And that's about the only thing I did last night, was I came through and pulled these because they have big spines on them. And when you walk past them, they scratch you. And that is really no fun. So that's priority number one, is to create a clear path. Now, this has been partially cleared here yesterday. I discovered when I got here yesterday that there was a gopher who had been having fun while we were gone. Right over here. And now he came up, he pushed that dirt up between the pieces of flagstone. So unless they're butted completely, like exactly, sometimes this happens. Now, it's the only one here that's big. There's another little one here. And that dirt is left over from another project. So I knew that that wasn't already there. So what I have to be careful of is I have to make sure that we're not going to trip over that. You can see that's already had carts roll over it. The plants going in here have been smashed. And there were a few small ones pulled out. My goal initially is to just make clear paths. So I will come through here and I will pull all this stuff here. Now, yesterday when we got here, we discovered that the front door would not open. That's not super uncommon here. It's a wooden door, and if you've had a lot of moisture, sometimes the door just simply doesn't open. So my next solution for that is I go to the kitchen door. Well, yesterday the kitchen door wouldn't open either. So then I go to the doors on the other side of the house. I have keys for those two, and I went in through the dining room, no problem. The difference between the dining room and this side is that this is the side of the house that normally gets hit by rain. Now, not always, but usually it's one side or the other. So sometimes if we were to come home during snow, the snow might be piled against the north side of the house. We wouldn't be able to get in easily without making a big mess. So we would simply go around to the other side of the house and go in that way. Something to consider when you build is which way is the predominant weather going to come. If you have problems with a door or a window, can you get in another door or a window someplace else that has not been hit with so much moisture? Now, yesterday, and you probably can't see it here, but you can see there is a little path through here. I came through here and I pulled all of those guys, which is the same as those guys. I don't pull those without heavy gloves on because they stab you to death. But I pulled enough of those so that I could get over here and bring things in through the kitchen door. And it's not perfect, but it's good enough. Now, I was warned, as I said, that the rodents had had a wonderful time out here while I was gone. The person who's taking care of the garden is not really a gardener, and I have some thoughts for next year as to how I'm going to handle this a little differently. But some of this damage is rodents, some of it is actually bugs. So when I peeked in here yesterday, that's a Colorado potato beetle. It's not a ladybug, so he needs to go. He is what is doing the damage on this plant, and that could easily be fixed with a shoe. So I will simply go through this. This kind of damage here is not rodents. That is bugs. We have Colorado potato beetles. There's quite a few of them on here. And we also have cucumber beetles. And I can fix that. That's an easy fix. First of all, I'm going to probably just pick most everything because it's not like there's a gazillion of them. That will make a big difference, just picking them. And then, see, those are all the different phases of existence on there. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Squish, squish. Anyway, so we do have rodent problems in here, but most of this is going to be simply picked off for the bugs. The potatoes have done really well, surprisingly, because there have been times when the potatoes got munched pretty badly. Calendula is obviously happy. Peppers don't currently have any peppers on them that I see, but they did before, and they do have flowers, so there'll be more peppers on there in a couple of weeks. So I'm not too worried about that. We're not huge pepper eaters anyway. That is an old dead pile of broccoli that came back to life because it got watered. And that's one of the things. Now, this grass here, while it looks pretty horrific, is going to be cut down rather easily with a weed whacker. So that's not a problem. Not pleased with my onions. The tops have obviously been eaten off of some of them. So I'm going to harvest those onions pretty quickly. But the dill down at that end has gone wonderfully insane, so that'll be great. Under this is what was supposed to be green beans, bush beans. There are, I won't say none, I think there's probably 4 plants in there, maybe 5. The section that's kind of puffy is coming out is old potatoes that came up from, I don't know, a couple of years ago. Anyway, certainly a couple of seasons ago. So we have potatoes in there, and we, I think, also might be 1 tomato in there. So, yeah. This bed over here with the shredded cover on it had edamame planted in it. I saw absolutely no edamame. They have been completely cleared out by the rodents. So that's a major fail. Oops, I hear a hummingbird. I just put the hummingbird feeder up this morning. It had been knocked down. Now, this hummingbird feeder has been in extremely high gusts before and has never been knocked down ever, ever, ever. So that tells you that we either had a big dust devil come through here or we had higher gusts than usual. Now, the weather station is not showing any higher gusts than usual, but to be honest, the weather station, which is right here, is actually protected by the house. So my guess is we actually had a dust devil come through because this guy was down in here and that is shredded. So we probably had a dust devil that came right through this section of the yard. And just like a tornado, they can clobber one thing and not clobber another. So that's my guess. We'll never know. I'm not worried about it. It is what it is. Rudbeckia, also called black-eyed Susans. This bed is actually really not going to take much. We have 1 piece of pigweed here. We have a piece of grass down there. This is almost completely perfect. Around the edges, we have a couple pieces of grass. We have cosmos that has self-seeded and has been blooming this year. We have some cosmos I planted and has still survived. There are looking at this bug. Oh, it's a wasp. Okay, I was like, what is that bug? We have bachelor buttons down in here, also called cornflowers. I planted zinnias. They were completely eaten. However, there are some self-seeded zinnias that came up in here. So I will not pull them, even if they're a little bit inconvenient in terms of their location, because I want zinnias. So we'll take advantage of that. But this one requires almost nothing. this guy will get pulled up. He is a plague in my garden, and because everything's wet right now, I can pull him out by the roots. Now, I won't get everything, but I'll be able to knock him down so that, especially if I go through carefully and really pull all the roots out of here, it'll be a major setback for him so that I don't have to deal with him going forth and multiplying with great vigor, which is what these guys do. They spread both by roots and by the flowers, which produce a lot of seeds. So I will fix that. What else do we have over here? We have a very messy garden bed. I see mint that has gone to flower. I see weeds that have come up and this needs to be pulled. The strawberries are actually looking pretty good. Although I'm sure there's no strawberries on them because they got cleared out early this year by mice. The rhubarb has come back well. One of the rhubarb plants down here looks like it came real close to dying, but it now has a couple of healthy leaves on it. The rhubarb was previously eaten this year by both rodents and God knows what else, squirrels. There is a dead mouse in there, so I'll be taking care of that trap later. The straw bales. These were a huge success the last couple of years, but not this year. Everything was eaten completely out of the left-hand one here. There's nothing left, zero. There are 2 squash plants left in the right-hand one. So what I'm going to do is with these is I'm going to switch up the irrigation. I've already turned the irrigation off to these this morning. I will make sure that this guy gets water, and I'm going to set rat traps and see what kind of damage we can do to the rat population here, because there's a couple of not too unhealthy squash plants in there, and I don't even know which ones they are. I haven't taken the lid off to see, but I'm hoping that we can get some squash from them fairly quickly. Now this is just grass. That's the usual, pick that stuff out. And there are always priorities in terms of picking this stuff. Let's see if I see any here. These are wild sunflowers. I will make sure that those do not get to do much because they produce huge numbers of seeds. I sometimes will allow them to go to seed someplace off in the corners somewhere of the yard because the birds love them, especially the goldfinches. Yeah, just grass. And I'm thinking what I want to do next year is any beds that don't have plants in them or seeds in them are going to be covered with landscape fabric so that this doesn't happen. Because I can clear this out, and I will clear it out, but that's going to take some time and effort and just plain annoyance factor. Now, this was not supposed to have anything in it, but as you can see, it does. And what happened was this had landscape fabric on it last year, and it was used for growing beans down at this end. And I can see there's also some basil in there. And this end was husk cherries. These are all self-seeded husk cherries. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to just leave this be. I will continue to water it. Surprisingly, usually the husk cherries get terribly infested with cucumber beetles. And there are some in here. I actually killed a few cucumber beetles in the house last night, which is always incredibly annoying to me. But especially when you're like trying to go to sleep and one lands on you. So this has got basil in it. It also has husk cherries. I'm just going to let this go, and I will put water on it. It doesn't have a watering system hooked up to it right now, but there's no reason not to take advantage of self-seeded stuff. See, here's some basil right here. And this is our old traditional basil that we've always grown here. One thing I will do is if I'm in a hurry and I don't have time, I will pick the seed heads on the grass. It's not the perfect solution, but it keeps you from producing more seeds that go into your beds. This is my non-edamame bed, and I have not found a single edamame plant in here. I have turned the water off to it. It was obviously shredded, the bed was, by, like I say, I think it was a dust devil probably that came through. And all I'm seeing in here is weeds and grass. So you can hear the thunder in the background, so I want to finish this up because I don't want to be out here when it decides it's going to rain on me. Okay, there are some husk cherries in here too. Just a few. See, these are husk cherries right there. I will probably let them be. I will pull the weeds and put individual water on them. I may not need to do that much because husk cherries can grow wild in our area. They don't produce as nice a fruit, and this is a domestic variety. But yeah, you know, definitely got to get rid of these. Now you'll notice these solanum have white flowers instead of the blue flowers. It's sort of a subgroup that we find here, and I'm trying to think. These are not as prickly. They don't have, like I wouldn't touch the stem on the other ones like that. But I still don't want them. They're still a weed. So we have a lot to do. We were delighted to find out that the our old dead laundry line over there has sparkly little lights that come on at night. And they still work. I was delighted to find that they still work, and the ones that I have over on my, bird bath still work too. The flowers over here are very happy. It's obvious that some of the flowers did not make it in the bed here. I'm not sure exactly what happened there because there was water on there. But we have plenty of iris. We have plenty of rosemary. We have plenty of oregano. We have a couple of wasps in here who are also happy. There's tons of mint in here that has taken over the planet. I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to do with that again because that was not my goal. We have a few weeds in here, but there's a huge amount of dill that's coming up in here, and Henry loves dill, so that's awesome. So the time may not have made it. I had a couple of little thyme plants in here. They just have not been doing well. They were self-seeded, and I was hoping I could keep them alive by adding water to them. I don't know. That does not seem to have helped. So, we'll see. We'll see. But that's what we know in the garden. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys today because we have a cloud coming in. So, I think you can guess what we'll be doing for the next couple of weeks here. And that's playing catch up. First thing is safety paths everywhere. It's really hard to see if there's anything in here with you, and I don't like that. I don't like having to watch Jack every time he goes out to take a leak. And Issa will be coming back from the kennel today, so she's going to be scouting around out in here too, and she does not have a lot of snake sense. So, well, she wants to hit them and play with them, which is never a good plan. So, yeah. But basically, it's safety first, so it's clear the paths, take away the things that are going to stab us. I'm also going to be cutting the tops off, the seeds, off of the seed spikes off of the mullein. I have somebody that I know who would love to have flowers from them, flower seeds from them, because they want to grow them themselves. And I don't want any more seeds from them because they're already endemic in the yard. These giganticus plants here are mullein. And they are very architectural, and I have been known to occasionally leave them because they look pretty cool, but that spike there is going to produce hundreds, maybe thousands of seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the seed spikes off of a couple of these that have already finished blooming and collect the seeds for my friend and let the rest of it go. I will pull some of these because some of them are kind of blocking the road. This is an example of self-seeded. Last year I had coleus in here, and that's what those plants are, is coleus plants. They came up by themselves. There were some over in here at the beginning of the summer too that also came up by themselves. I don't see them. I don't think they can compete with some of this other stuff. So basically, my priorities will be safety, followed by convenience, and then planning for the future. So I'll be getting the paths cleared, I'll be getting the stickers out of the way, I'll be getting anything that's just plain blocks your way done, I'll be pulling out the things that are going to produce 1,000,000 seed heads. And then we'll go for cosmetic. We'll pick other sections that are just like totally overgrown. Henry will get in here with a weed whacker. This will have to be raked once it's weed whacked. Before I do that though, I will go through and look for these guys. Because I noticed a couple of these plants in here. Goat heads. I noticed we don't have many left in the yard, but they produce very prickly seeds, which are incredibly invasive and hard to control once you've got them. They came in with a batch of dirt that we bought years ago. Yeah, that's a pretty good example. This is a baby seed, so it's not as big as it will get, but those spikes, this whole thing will grow bigger, probably twice that size, and the spikes will grow bigger too. And they will stick in the bottom of your flip-flops, the bottom of your feet, the kitty feet, the doggy feet, everybody's feet. So yeah, we don't want those. So I will go through these areas here before Henry weed whacks and make sure that there are no cute little yellow flowers. That's the advantage of these guys, is they produce this cute little yellow flower that makes them stand out. And they're not the only thing in the area that produces a flower like this, but pretty darn close. So I'll scout these areas here before they get weed whacked. And it's going to look really different in just a couple of days. So that's it for now. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We have a lot going on, and we're going to be talking about some of the other priority things that we're going to do. Yeah. It's going to be interesting, so make sure you don't miss it. So until next time, bye, and keep brainstorming, because obviously we are.